This is the Agent Mind Podcast. Hey, welcome back to the Agent Mind Podcast. I'm here with Scott Hack today. He's the broker owner of Finish Line Realty in Louisville, Kentucky. And we are going to talk about building community and how important that is and how it can help your business absolutely just blow up. So Scott, thanks so much for coming back. Second time around on the show. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me, TJ. I really appreciate the opportunity to share with the audience, and hopefully we can put some nuggets in their bucket that they can use to increase their business.
Absolutely. Nuggets in the bucket. I'm going to use that again
nuggets
and again.
In the bucket. That's right.
That is now etched in my brain. Thank you. So cool. So building community. I know we could talk like for days on this, and you are someone who does it really well. So I get just to try to organize it. Let's start with your brokerage and the agents in your brokerage. How are you building community with them? Because I know if you're building community with your agents, they're taking that example and going out and building community. Tell me what you're doing there.
So, I mean, at the brokerage level, I think it's obviously when people are talking about building a brokerage, and culture is one of the things that really starts standing out as a buzzword. But really, for me, what that means is putting together agents and working together, rowing in the same direction and in cadence. And one of the kind of terms I use to help describe that is basically a roundtable leadership. So I really try to bring my agents to the table. We're making decisions together. We're having discussions. Obviously, there are times and things where I have to, make an executive decision. But anytime I have an opportunity to bring in the agents to, essentially get buy-in and get their feedback on something, I'm going to do it. So that was one of the things that was important to me coming out of the pandemic. We actually moved the opposite direction of a lot of brokerages. We actually bought an office condo so we would have a physical meeting space. And I know a lot of places were giving up their physical space and moving into the virtual world. And obviously any kind of meeting that you're doing with your team or your brokerages people is important. But I just felt like that feedback loop that can get immediately closed by being face to face and having 3 or 4 people over talk to each other is important. So as you said, I've got a small brokerage in Louisville, Kentucky, Finish Line Realty, and it's me and about 12 agents. And like I said, just try to get them involved in all the everyday decisions that we're doing, so that they feel like that they are part of the process.
Yeah, that's interesting that you went in the opposite direction of everybody. Everybody else was really retracting from in person, going into the office. And you did the opposite. And that's what does Warren Buffett say about investing? Like do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. And that's how you win.
That I still don't know if it was a smart decision, to be honest with you. I mean, commercial real estate has certainly not been appreciating the same pace as residential. But what I found during the pandemic is we lost our ability to do coffee meetings and go out to lunch, and really break bread and spend time with the agents, have that face-to-face time. So I wanted a space that couldn't be taken away from me. And I do work out of my home a lot. So, the agents could have visited me here, but I've got an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old, and, the house is hardly ever in the kind of condition where I'd want to invite people in on a regular basis. I certainly don't want my neighbors complaining that, the house is a constant place of people coming in and out. So, we just decided to bite the bullet and go with the office condo, which has worked out well. It gives me a space to meet with the agents once a week, which we do a training between 10:30 and noon every week. Gives me a place to host the networking group that I do. Gives my wife an opportunity and for us to record our podcast there. So we actually refer to it as our training and media center, and not our office. It's got a hot station in there, so there's a computer and a printer, so they can stop in and print something off, scan something, use the restroom, grab a soda from the fridge, and then it's not staffed. They've got codes to the door to get in. And of course, like I said, the podcasting equipment's in there. We're slowly trying to get people up and using that. It's a process. And then,
Nice.
We're encouraging them to set up their own networking groups, because that's, one of the other community building things that I do with my wife is we have a networking group that we meet with twice a month that's in the same style as a BNI.
Good segue. So let's dig into that. So one more question about the agents. So you're building community is important as far as the culture of your brokerage. You're encouraging them to kind of do their own stuff. How much of that do they like really grasp onto and run with?
Yeah, so I'll use the networking group as the example. So,
Cool.
when I'm talking with the agents and I'm personally trying to build my own community, and that's one of the communities I'm working on building. I tell my agents that I'm never going to ask them to do something that I'm not going to do myself. So I'm definitely trying to lead by example and executing that networking group that I'm doing myself. So I meet with my group on the third Wednesday of the month, and I'm like, hey guys, there's 28 other days of the month where this space is available for you to use it, except for our trainings on Tuesdays. There's a lot of opportunities. So pick a date, let's block it out. And two of the agents so far have started that process. I don't know if anyone else has started up a networking group or started a BNI chapter, but it takes a little while. You've got to get probably 10 people to consistently start showing up for something before you can really start growing. And getting that 10 people into the same room on a consistent basis can take 4 or 5 months just to get the right people. So one of my persons, she's, I think 3 months in, and she's got a group of 6 people so far that are consistently showing up, and probably 25 that are on the mailing list. But she just, those people haven't bought in yet. They're not showing up consistently. So it's just going to take her a little bit longer to keep going, but I'm confident she'll get there. And, it's one of the things I think is working.
Yeah, it's a good point that you mentioned. It does take time. Like anything that's worth doing really takes time, and often people give up like right before before the tipping point, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you have it's a lunch meetup, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's actually called Eat, Network, Win. I keep it really basic, and that's the whole embedded command. We're there to eat, network, and win, hopefully business. So we've got a small website that I built out that's kind of like a directory of the people who attend on a regular basis. And I use a program called Mixly, actually, similar to Eventbrite, if you're familiar with that, to do the RSVPs. It lets me put people on an email list and set up, and then it tracks who's coming, who's not coming, and makes it really simple for me to execute. I can save that and do a lot of repeating, so I'm not starting over.
So just to clarify, this is not for agents specifically. This is for to build a client base and to serve your client base, right?
Yeah, so it's that's correct. It's not real estate agents, so it's in the same style as BNI, where we have protected seats and industries that we're trying to do. So we've got a mortgage person, we've got an insurance person, we've got an organizer, we've got someone in wellness, travel agent, and it also works really well because my wife has a publication that's called Stroll, and it's put together by the same parent company that does Real Producers. So that company has the Real Producers magazine as well as Stroll magazines, and Stroll is there's about 800 of them across the country, and the magazine basically is all about the people that live in that particular neighborhood. So it's the stories about their dogs and their vacations and their kids graduating from college and high school, and about their basement remodels, and it's partner supported. So Liz my wife goes out and sell ads to like HVAC people and plumbers and remodelers and things like that. So a lot of the same tradespeople and a lot of the same people that are good for my referral business are good for her business. So we have a lot of overlap that we're trying to do with that. So a lot of her partners that are advertising in her publication also attend our networking group. So it's another kind of built-in value add for her too. And it's great for me because those are all the same referral partners that I need.
Right. Yeah. So she's like the publisher of this.
Yeah.
The magazine. Okay.
So the company basically does the back end support, the graphic design, the actual printing and mailing, and she's in charge of basically ad sales and all of the content writing. So they do the layout, but she actually has to write the content, and then they do the whole the title needs to be this big and the font needs to be, this, and you need 3 pictures. And you need, 18 pages or 25 pages or whatever. I guess 25 pages doesn't work, but you know what I mean?
Yep,
26
gotcha.
pages. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to differentiate because I know that agents will buy like a cookie cutter type magazine to put their face on, and then that goes out to their sphere. This is a different.
Yeah, this is different. All the content is 100% unique. It's exclusive to that neighborhood, that publication.
Gotcha.
So, like this example here, these people on the cover, these are residents that live in the neighborhood. And then my participation in this publication is as the real estate resource. There's like a spot in here. Find my ad. But there's like a spot in here where I list like the sales.
Gotcha.
Like, here's what's pending, here's what's sold, things like that. So
Scott's Corner.
So, it's not fancy, but it's got like, here's pending, here's sold.
Mm-hmm.
And her publication goes to about 400 households. So that's, nice. Another example of a community we're building with the neighbors. So those are obviously, part of it is they do in-person events. So she tries to at least every other month do an event where the neighbors and the partners come together, and we're able to have FaceTime with them, shake hands. So along with the sort of passive advertising that's in the publication and them seeing my face and recognizing my brand, hopefully I'm, like I said, shaking hands and actually having a conversation with them in person as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I'm glad we dug into the separation of it's not just like a big advertisement that you buy. It's an actual, like, she's doing all the work, doing all the content, and that it's that is building community like to a T. That's amazing. That who wouldn't love to see themselves in a magazine? You know what I mean? That gets distributed to 400 people, and it's all about the community and all about the neighbors.
Yeah, so one of my mentors, he used to tease, like, when I first started in the business in 2008, I had a website that was, to be honest, it was mostly a blog. Like, that's what kind of websites were that were not just, landing pages. And we were always talking about content, and he was like, people want to listen to their favorite radio station. And he always teased that people's favorite radio station was WIIFM. So what's in it for me?
Yeah,
was what people want to see. So this particular publication, it's about news about their neighborhood and their neighbors and them. To be frank, so yeah, people have buy-in to look at it and pay attention to it. And that's, as an advertiser, that's what I want. I want people engaged with the content.
Yeah, 100%. And I know you got other stuff going on that builds community. You actually have a whole nother business as well.
Yeah. So, we took, we have a conference, which we'll talk about that in a second, but because of the conference and because of the magazine and because of the brokerage, we actually started a coffee company, and we've been using the coffee company to build community as well in a very literal sense. So, let me actually grab one of the bags I have here somewhere. So this is an example of, see if I can zoom this out a little bit, but like, we use these for gifts. So Liz today is out delivering these. There's a bag of our coffee in here, and then these are some creamer bombs. So she's sending these to some of the neighbors that we've met at some of the events, some of her advertisers, and her partners, and then we're giving them out as door prizes at our networking group. And then last year we started participating in our local farmers market. So the farmers market's pretty small. There's about 10 booths at it, and it takes place every other Thursday night. So it's not every Saturday morning. We're not fighting that. We're not competing with a lot of other ones, and it's literally less than a mile away from our house. So we can walk to it. Nice. So the people coming to that farmers market are literally my neighbors, my literal community. Yeah. So we use the coffee company to leverage introductions to our neighbors in our community, because it's one thing to have a booth set up to say, hey, let me help you with, selling your house, or let's talk about what your house is worth. And it's another for people to come up and, want to buy coffee, and we do samples. So we definitely met, dozens of our neighbors that I would not have had an opportunity to have any FaceTime with. So it's been a great door opener to building those relationships and building, again, that community.
So for people that are listening, it'll be on YouTube so people could see. But for people that are listening, like driving in their cars right now, but I want to point out the label for your, because it's like, talk about having a product that's very tied to your community, and you got a cool label on the coffee packaging.
Yeah.
For that.
So my brokerage is called Finish Line Realty, and I am in Louisville, Kentucky. And so we're in horse racing territory.
Mm-hmm.
So we called the coffee Starting Gate Coffee. So we've got bookends here of, starting gate and finish line. And our label and our logo, we went with traditional jockey silk colors. And then our coffee blend is called Super High Five. And Super High Five is a bet you can place at the racetrack for the first 5 horses to win. When we launched this particular blend in 2021, if you had placed a bet at the 2022 Derby for a Super High Five, it would have been over $1 million ticket winner.
Nice.
And then we also have like a little barcode on here that mimics the betting slip from the track. So if you've ever been to the track and you see all the slips that people throw down, after they didn't win, they all have those little barcodes, almost like a lottery ticket looking. So we've got some of those little branding Easter eggs on there to help tie everything back to the brokerage. And the idea is we wanted something obviously that was going to remind them of the brokerage, but we didn't want it to be Finish Line Realty Coffee, because then it has its own standalone power. So we're working actually to get into like PTAs and Little Leagues and Cub Scouts to allow them to use the coffee as a fundraiser.
Nice.
Just another way we're trying to use it as a door opener for our community and help build relationships. Really, that's what it's all about, is building relationships. And the coffee gives us, the opportunity to do that. TJ, when you send me a referral, I throw a bag of coffee in the mail to you, and as a thank you. Like, it's nice. Just a nice touch.
It's good coffee too. You gave it to me at a conference one time. It's pretty good. For sure. But how many, like, this is amazing. Like the layers of community building that you've established. Just, I mean, we can list them all right now, but so like down to fundraising for youth community organizations and all that. Like that's genius right there as well. Like getting it out in a philanthropic way. It does 2 things really. It helps your community. Number one, what a great thing you could finish there, but it also it puts you in front of opportunities to meet people that you otherwise wouldn't meet. So it's just amazing, all the layers that you have kind of built in.
I think that some of that was came by accident because of my previous job history. I used to own a pizza restaurant actually in my community, and every PTA was hitting us up for donation or sponsorship. And when you are something like a pizza restaurant, it's a little easier just to do a gift card, right? Here's a gift card. Here's something of value. You can resell it. Here's a coupon book that you can resell. It gives you something. But when you take that and you translate it to a real estate business or something that's even service based, it's really hard to package up that service and then put it into something that you can assign a value to, that someone else can buy or sell, or even help pitch for you. So like, what am I going to do when the PTA asks me to donate something? So we came up with the coffee company, because now we've got like, actually you can see here for those that are on YouTube, I've got some of our coffee mugs. So I can throw a couple of our branded coffee mugs into a package with some of the coffee, and we can build that into a basket, and then have something that's of value, but also provides us an opportunity to tell people who we are and what we do. But it's also something of value that they can use on their own. Yeah. Even if they weren't ever to call me. Like a coupon for a CMA is, there's no real value to that for someone to buy at a silent auction.
Yeah.
And it gives us an opportunity to do something that's a little bit deeper.
Yeah, most definitely. You're right about that. So now the burning question I'm sure that everybody's thinking about now as they're listening or watching, like how, how hard or how easy was this to get going? And was it something that was like did it distract you from everything else going on to build this, or was it just kind of a natural thing to do?
It wasn't a distraction per se. I do have a lot of moving pieces of businesses that Liz and I do, and this was kind of another extension to that. And as a personally fulfilling project, the brand building part of it is something that I enjoy. So that part wasn't that challenging. We worked with a graphic designer to come up with our brand, and we actually have a whole kind of like brand blends as bets layout. So like we have a trifecta that we want to do, scratch as our decaf. So we have this whole thing laid out where we did a lot of prep work. We've kept it simple though. We did just the one blend. TJ, did you execute or try to execute a Pi Day event this year?
Yes, I have. This year I did not. I've definitely done them in the past,
Okay.
and
So
it was pretty
the
successful.
real motivation behind the coffee company was Pi Days.
Mm-hmm.
We did do Pi Days a few times, and they're a pain in the rear
Yeah.
to execute. Number one, sourcing a pie can be a challenge, especially as they become more popular.
Mm-hmm.
It's not shelf stable. Traveling with them, you can't stack them more than 2 or 3 high without them crushing each other. And there's no exclusivity to it. So, when someone goes to Costco and they get a $7 or $8 pie, and then you invite them to your office to pick up that same $7 or $8 pie, you didn't save them anything. Time-wise, you didn't give them anything they couldn't get on their own. With the coffee company, they can't go to the store and necessarily buy that. They've got to get it through us. It's shelf stable. They can put it in their car. It lasts for months,
Mm-hmm.
unground. So we do it as a whole bean, so they can keep it for up to 6 months without grinding it. It still works. So I don't have inventory problems and worrying about, I've got 3 extra apple pies. What am I going to do with these? That sort of thing. So as a project there, that was really the big motivation. We wanted something that was consumable, had wide appeal, and wasn't going to spoil. And we landed on coffee. And there's a few other reasons why. It's a food item, so in most states it's not taxable. So it makes it easy as for the business to set up. We don't have to worry about paying in sales tax, some of those type of things. So
Yeah.
And then we worked with a local roaster to actually develop our blend and do our roasting for us. So I still stay in my lane as a real estate broker and agent. And I'm not out there trying to learn how to roast coffee.
That was
We
my
are
next.
just
That was
really
my next
executing
question.
on the brand. Yeah.
That was definitely my next question. Are you out there? Did you buy a roaster and go the whole nine?
No, I
But yeah.
mean, there's a lot of things out there. I've talked to people over the years about different things. Like I've seen people execute this kind of strategy with like barbecue sauces and like spice blends. Because there's a lot of things out there. The term that you would want to Google is like white label or private label.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of products out there, and there's manufacturers that do nothing but develop products that can be private labeled or white labeled. Wine companies, we actually decided to stay away from spirits or wine.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of that type of opportunity out there for a private label or white label to go on a wine bottle. Again, like a spice blend, barbecue sauce, things like that, marinades.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of opportunity, and you literally do the upfront work to get your brand, and then they package it and ship it and handle everything else. So
Nice. So is this a profitable venture for you, or is it kind of a loss leader that it just
it's a loss leader? Yeah. So I mean, we have we generate a little bit of revenue from it, but obviously with the amount that we give away, then we don't generate a profit from it.
Yeah.
And we involve our kids in this too. So it's an activity that we do with our kids. They are doing samples, they're counting money, they're doing customer service. And then we kind of started as a tradition with the family that we take in the girls after the farmer's market and we go get pizza together. So they know
Nice.
that we're there kind of selling the coffee to generate revenue to pay for the pizza that night. And like I said, it's
Nice.
not what it goes for, but that's kind of the story. And they understand that there's a value there of what we're doing.
Yeah. Excellent. I
Yeah.
mean, so many just the learning opportunities too for young people to get them thinking about business and being an
Yeah.
entrepreneur
And,
and all that.
like we were talking about earlier, like this is all a lot of layers. So the other reason we actually ended up doing the coffee company is we wanted to have more control over our experience at the conference that we do. So all of the community building that we're doing locally and for clients, we really try to extend to the agent community that, we're trying to build with Real Estate Distilled. And we wanted something that was unique for us to do for speaker gifts. And like I said, we do for referrals and our sponsors. So we started the coffee company so we'd be able to basically serve our own coffee at the conference when we were allowed to do that. And doing Real Estate Distilled, which is coming up in March 5th and 6th, is giving us a great opportunity. We've got a Facebook group of almost 2,500 agents, and we'll have over 150 agents at the conference, people from 25 different states. So it's just another opportunity for people to come together and learn from each other, which I think that's one of the most important parts about community is like, TJ, you and I have shared a meal together. And like, if I have a question, like I can call you up and say, hey, TJ, I'm working on starting up my podcast. And, that's a real world example. In the Facebook group, I shared that my wife and I are starting up the podcast. And, you had some feedback and some different ideas from your experience. So now I'm not starting from ground zero. I'm starting from, where you were and hopefully learning from the mistakes you made so I don't repeat those.
Yeah. You get how much time you got? We can talk about my mistakes. No, yeah, that's great. I'm glad you brought up the distilled. I was going to mention that. Definitely a plug for that. If you are looking for one of the best events to go to this year, Real Estate Distilled is amazing. Plus there's a bourbon tasting, right? Bourbon that's just as a
So we
side
lean
bonus.
into bourbon tourism that Louisville, Kentucky offers. So, I did a Facebook post a few weeks ago, maybe about a week ago, and I was just kind of talking about how Louisville, Kentucky as a city, I feel is underrated as a conference city. But we've got a lot going for us. So number one, we're, kind of squarely in the Midwest or the top part of the South, depending on who you talk to, which makes us drivable to a big portion of the United States. So 6 or 8 hours, is kind of about the cutoff for what people want to do for driving. And that's about 60% of the population. And then airlift is another big thing. So we have direct flights from about 40 different cities. UPS has the World Hub here, which means most packages delivered east of the Mississippi come through Louisville first. And then they fly back out to other places because of our central location in the United States.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, of course, we have our bourbon tourism, which gives people the opportunity to come in, do some learning, and then I tease, but we hope you have a thirst for knowledge. But if you're thirsty for something else, you can check that out while you're here as well.
Super cool. I know a few of the speakers that are coming. I just had Jessica Wade on the show last week, and she's amazing. What a great personality. And Neil Mathwig, a friend of ours, and just a great lineup. So definitely, if you, like I said, if you're looking for one of the best conferences to go to, the link is in the show notes. Go check it out. Real Estate Distilled, and join the Facebook page too. Right. And
100%. And those are great examples. Neil is basically family. He's been to, I think, 6 of our 7 conferences that we've done. And, obviously I've been to multiple events that Neil's done. He's came through town when he was full-time RVing. And Jessica was actually at our very first event that we executed in 2018. We've been to masterminds across the country together. We actually had a chance meet up in the Orlando airport. I think, I was coming down to go to an event and she was flying home from an event, and we randomly met in the food court. So, it's just those relationships are solid gold, and it's amazing what face-to-face interaction can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, I've learned from you as far as like being a networker and the value in networking. And I don't know, networking it can be kind of a general term, and it can be an intimidating term, but a perfect example. I think we had met face to face once at this point, and you had sent me a message. I think it was through Facebook Messenger. Hey, your town's domain is available. I forget what it was, like living in Peachtree City or something to do with Peachtree City. I ended up buying it, which was, so thank you for that. But just the small little thoughtful things that don't take a lot of time, just to make a connection with people and just solidify that friendship, basically, is what it boils down to. It's no different than just like making friends, in your personal life, like making friends in your professional life. It's there's no real difference. You know what I mean? So when people think of networking, it really is it's as simple as just making friends and staying
and I think the law of reciprocity is certainly out there. And it's like you said, it's something simple, and the more you can do to let people know where you are, that's where they'll think of you. So when I'm looking through and I saw that city and it matched up with you, it's like, oh, who do I know there? That's TJ. So obviously I'm going to reach out to you. So it's important that people know where you're at and your market. And as I get a little older and my memory's not quite the same, sometimes it helps me to have a map. I have a Google map where I have people marked so I can look up, like, who do I know that's in southern Atlanta? Who do I know that's in northern Atlanta? Because Atlanta isn't a good enough referral. Like, it's too big of a city just to do just Atlanta.
Absolutely.
But Louisville is. So if you have anybody in the area, I'm your guy.
It doesn't take you 2.5 hours to drive from the bottom to the top of the city.
No, I live in the extreme east end, but I can get to the other side in about 40 minutes.
Nice. Yeah. So that is not the case in Atlanta. If you've ever been to Atlanta, the traffic alone is a headache. We'll just say that. I could say I could use a lot more harsh words about the traffic, but that's we'll just say headache. Cool. This has been great. I mean, what is there anything else because I feel like we could talk really all afternoon about the things that you're doing to build community and the networking that you do. I like building community much better than networking, because that's really what it is. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have?
I can't think of anything specific, but I would just say that I do think that it's like anything, you have to be intentional about it. And that includes, like, even though I host my own event, I'm probably going to be at probably 4 other events next year, because I want to be in the room with other smart people, meeting smart people and learning. And I think that that's something you have to be intentional about, making the time to do those things. Literally, like I said, having meals with people, so that way when I have a question, I can call someone up on a random Thursday and ask, hey, what do you think about this idea? Or have you done anything like this before? So it's nice to be able to build those relationships, and of course the referrals that you can build from making those connections is important.
The link for Distilled is going to be Real Estate Distilled event. It's a 3-day event, March 5th.
So we're technically 2 days this year, March 5th and 6th. Mm-hmm. And then if anybody is playing in the same sandbox as me as an independent broker owner, we do have a pre-conference event just for broker owners of independent brokerages that's on the 4th. So that's kind of an optional thing people can add on. Mm-hmm. But for most people, they'll be here for 2 days. And then we've got that bourbon tasting dinner on the first night, where we bring in a brand ambassador. They walk us through a tasting of 2 or 3 of their different bourbons, do a catered dinner, and we do transportation so that people are able to relax and enjoy their evening and not worrying about parking or finding places. So,
or driving after drinking bourbon.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. So, and you have a podcast. Is it published yet, or are you still?
It's not published yet. We have 3 episodes recorded. 2 of them have been edited. By time, depending on when you release this, we might have the first episode launched. I'm actually going through that process now of learning everything that you've already figured out, like distribution and what do we do for a landing page and, that sort of thing. What accounts I have to create to get it on, Apple and, all the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can talk offline, but it's really a pretty simple process once you get rolling with it. But so what's the name of the podcast? You have the name picked up?
Yeah, it's going to be the Real Estate Distilled podcast. So we're keeping it under the Real Estate Distilled branding and the umbrella. And we've got super cheesy on our theming. I'm excited about it. But we leaned in really heavy on it, and so I'm anxious to get it out there and get feedback from people and see like, oh my gosh, did you really do that? But the content I know is exciting because we've already started with our speakers, and obviously if I think these people are good enough to bring them into town to talk to a live audience, then I know what they're going to do on the podcast is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to hear it. Well, I'll definitely have a link to the Real Estate Distilled website, which I imagine there'll be a link to the podcast once it's ready to go.
Once it's live, yeah. Yes, sir.
Cool. So, how do we find you on social media? We're gonna join the Real Estate Distilled.
Yeah, Facebook actually, if you go to scotthack.com, that is kind of my landing page. So there's links to the Real Estate Distilled website. There's links to the coffee company. There's links to download my contact info and connect with my social profiles. Anybody reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions and connect. Yeah.
And that's truth. So yeah, I know you're not just saying that. Somebody else listening, like, yeah, everybody says that, but I know it to be fact when you say it for sure.
Absolutely.
So definitely. Well, this has been great, Scott. Thanks for coming back on the show, repeat guest. And
I really appreciate the opportunity to share.
Yeah, certainly. And I'm gonna. How do I get some of your coffee? How can I do that?
You come to Real Estate Distilled in March, and I'll have a bag with the name on it.
Awesome. All right, Scott. Well, thanks for your time, and go get it.